All right, Asian Cup semifinal predictions. I wasn't planning again to do a predictions video, but since last time you guys quite enjoyed when I did this style of video for the quarterfinals, I thought might as well do it again for the semifinals. This is going to be a very short and sweet video because we're only talking about two matches, but I think especially for all my Iranian national team fans, they would very much value like a preview for the match against Qatar. So you're going to get that in this video as well. So guys, don't forget, like this video if you love Asian football content. My channel is the place to be, especially if you love the Iranian national team. If we get like, let's say over 50 likes, I'll for sure do a Asian Cup final preview, which I think you guys will all very much appreciate because there's a big possibility based off what you guys will find out at the end of this video with who I predict makes the final will be a very juicy Asian Cup final. So let's talk about the semifinal matchups. First one being Jordan versus South Korea. Jordan definitely have been the biggest underdogs in this tournament. I mean, they have definitely been the dark horse in the tournament, defeating Iraq in the round of 16, then Tajikistan in the quarterfinals, which was a pretty easy match. But nonetheless, they're here and they're playing against South Korea, which funnily enough is a rematch of their group stage matchup that they had, where we saw Jordan almost get a historic win over South Korea if it wasn't for a late own goal. So they kind of stabbed themselves in the foot. South Korea, they've just been grinding out late goals in every single one of their matches, in their match against Saudi Arabia and their match against Australia, just grinding out late goals every time. They're the never say die team. And in this match against Jordan, I previously said if this does happen, I just don't think South Korea will make the same mistakes that they made in the group stage. They'll be a lot more sharper, hopefully. I will say, though, playing like two extra time matches in a row, it's surely got to start making the legs very tired. I feel like they might start playing a little bit heavy come this game or maybe even the final. I wouldn't mind it in the final if the one team that I'm hoping for makes the final makes it. But yeah, I mean, for sure, playing two back-to-back 120-minute games definitely is going to take a toll on you. And I think for South Korea, that's kind of like their biggest con so far. But Jordan, I think they have a really good chance of making this final. I don't think a lot of people are talking about it. I mean, everyone thinks the shoe-in to win this Asian Cup, which I said before the tournament even started, I predicted South Korea. So I wouldn't mind to be right, but in this situation, I want to be wrong for obvious reasons that you'll find out in the next match prediction. I don't think this match is as straightforward to say South Korea will easily beat Jordan. This game will be close, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if it goes again to another extra time period. Because when you look at their matches against Saudi Arabia and more specifically with Australia, the Australia match, they didn't score from open play. It was Australia's defense making lapses in judgment because in all honesty, I think Australia were the better team in this match. We can't deny that, but they gave away a stupid penalty, then gave away a stupid free kick, and you know what? They were clutch in that moment. But at the end of the day, I think Australia were the better team. They just made bad subs and for sure got a very unlucky red card. As well, we have to add Kim Min Jae is not going to be available for this match because he is suspended. And I think it's a huge loss because, in my opinion, I think he's South Korea's best or second best player behind Lee Kang-in. So I definitely think that's going to be a huge loss to the defense. I wouldn't be surprised if they creak some good opportunities to Jordan, but I think South Korea will just do it in a penalty shootout to make the Asian Cup final. Then moving on to the next match, which is Iran versus Qatar. And Qatar, very much surprised they made it all the way to the semifinals because since the World Cup, this team leading up to this tournament have been pretty dog shit for the most part. Obviously, they're under a new manager. Previously, after the World Cup, from Felix Sanchez, they went to Carlos Queiroz, and now they're with Marquez Lopez, who I will say has done a pretty good job. At least Qatar is playing way better than at the end of the Sanchez Queiroz eras. I think they're playing a lot better, but I will say they haven't played any massively challenging opponents. I think Uzbekistan was definitely their most challenging one, which they were so fortunate not to have lost that penalty shootout because it was in Uzbekistan's hands. They were up by 2 penalties and they completely threw the shootout away. And I hate it because I had such high praise for this Uzbekistan team and they blew it. And it makes me mad because I really want to see Uzbekistan in this stage. But as an Iranian national team fan, I definitely think Iran has a way better chance against Qatar than they do against Uzbekistan. These two teams did recently, actually, fairly recently, faced off in the Jordan International Tournament, that like 4-country tournament before the Asian Cup. Iran faced off against Qatar in the final, but again, that was under Carlos Queiroz. They won 4-0 with a late flurry of goals. All the goals came late. I don't think we can take a lot out of that game because, again, different manager. I think Qatar's playing a lot better than compared to back then. So I don't think we can take a lot out of it, but they did play semi recently. That's a good thing. Iran, I think, have now pushed themselves as like the heavy favorites to be able to win this tournament. You just defeated tournament favorites Japan. And I think the most important part for Iran is not to be overconfident. I talked about that in my review after the Japan game. I think it's all up to them. I think the only way Iran can't win this tournament, go to the final, is themselves imploding, them making their own mistakes. Because in my opinion, at this point, basically of what I've seen, I think South Korea could cause them troubles, but none of these three nations remaining in this tournament outside of Iran are on Iran's level. I think like South Korea is very, very close, but like there's obvious lapses and areas with that team and holes. But with Iran, I think from top to bottom, that Japan game just totally just like, I'm not used to that. And I think many of my Iranian followers are saying the same thing after that game. We're not used to being this excited and this optimistic, and it's really refreshing to see. But in regards to this match against Qatar, biggest danger man, Akram Afif, Almoz Ali, those guys are going to run the show. I think Qatar is going to play similarly, actually, to the match when they previously met, the game I mentioned earlier, where they're going to try to soak up as much pressure, try to keep it 0-0 as long as possible, try to hit them on the counterattack. So as long as Iran do what they did in the match against UAE, Palestine, hit them on the attack early, kill the game off early, they'll be totally fine. I don't see it being a massive issue unless the referees do what the referees have done for Qatar in previous Asian Cups, which I hope is not the case, and I don't think will be the case. As long as Iran do what they have to do, I think they should easily be able to make the final. It's just for Iran, the biggest key is don't make your own mistakes. Don't implode, because the biggest worry for them is their defense. Yes, they played pretty solid in the game against Japan, but the one opportunity they gave away, which ended up being a goal, that goal was really like just shit defending. Kanani getting spun when my man didn't even do a single skill move. He just turned right. Kanani was looking back to the shadow realm, and then Beranvant easily should have saved it. I think Beranvant's a solid goalkeeper, but there has been some moments from him where I'm like, oh my God, is he still that same guy from 2018/19? All in all, it's just bad by the defense. So as long as Kanani do their job, I think Iran could be fine. That would mean my final would be South Korea versus Iran in the final, which would be so, so interesting to see. Jurgen Klinsmann, the man who chatted so much shit about Iran during the World Cup, saying the things that he said, having to face off against him in the final, I think that's going to be extra added motivation for Iran. But again, I'm not going to talk any more about the final, because if you guys hit over 50 likes, we'll do a preview for the final, because we don't know if this will be the final. I hope Iran make the final. I wouldn't mind if Jordan made the final, but at the same time, I at least want to be close to right about South Korea, but we'll see what happens. But boys and girls, don't forget, we will be doing a live watch along for the Iran versus Qatar match, so make sure to be there for that. Make sure to smash the like button on today's video, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I hope you'll have a lovely day.